Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the people management platform for hospitality teams. With its intuitive drag-and-drop rota planner and built-in budgeting tools, RotaCloud users spend an average of 66% less time on staffing-related admin, leaving them with more time to spend with their customers, train staff, or simply take a well-earned break. Head over to rotacloud.com/Phil to explore RotaCloud's full range of tools and features and sign up for your 30-day free trial. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Mark Reynolds, Regional Executive Chef for Levy UK and National Vice Chair of the Craft Guild of Chefs. Coming up on today's show, Mark highlights that just maybe the army wasn't for him.
On the Brecon Beacons, I had snot icicles coming out my nose, flares going off around me, and I just thought, what am I doing here?
Phil holds on to Mark before more pressing engagements. Final question, and I'll let you get off to Elton John. And Mark gives us one of the more outlandish stories we've heard.
The Dulux dog had hurt his paw, so I had to give it a paracetamol, bless it.
All that and so much more as we chat through Mark's epic career so far. Mark is at the catering helm of some of London's highest profile venues and stadia, as well as doing exceptional work with the Craft Guild of Chefs. It's a fantastic journey, starting quite humbly but moving forward with graft and a keen focus on learning. It's a career that's taken him around the world, and by God, he's got some wonderful stories. Thanks so much, Mark. Before we get into it, just a cheeky reminder to subscribe to the show and drop us a little review. It really helps more than I can say. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Meets welcome to Mark Reynolds. Hi, Mark. How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, good for yourself.
Yeah, very good indeed. Where do we find you today? That looks like a nice room behind you.
Yeah, I'm home this morning and then going to head off to the O2 this afternoon. We've got Elton John in tonight. Funnily enough, it's the busiest night of Elton John tonight, Monday night, which is unusual.
Really?
But he's got a little break now for a few weeks. So, yeah, no, it's a busy night over at the O2 tonight.
Very good. Well, I mean, maybe then for clarity, just tell people who you are and what it is that you do, that you're not a roadie for Elton John.
Definitely not a roadie. So I wear two hats. So my main source of income is I'm regional executive chef for Levy, London. So I'll pick up a lot of sites in London. So them being Tottenham, Watford, Brentford, Wembley Arena. I have a CPU down in Feltham that we look after, that we produce a lot of stuff for Levy, the Oval, Chelsea training ground, the ladies' ground at Chelsea, and the O2, where I'm off to tonight. So yeah, pick up a few units.
My life. I'm flummoxed. I didn't realise that you had all of that going on.
Yeah.
That's a lot of high-profile units.
Yeah, if they're all out working in one day, I can have like 22,000 covers going out and have about 1,200 chefs working under me. So yeah, it's a busy job.
My God, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose you obviously didn't just land here. There's got to be a bit of a story as to how you ended up getting into all of this. So take us all the way back to the beginning of your career. How did you get into this line of work? How did you get into hospitality in the first place?
So my dad was in the print, and then during the Wapping dispute, decided he was getting out of the print, and he actually bought a pub. So I was at the age of 14, 15, and he had letting rooms upstairs. So I used to do the breakfast shift for him.
Right.
The first thing I can remember of being sort of a trainee chef was someone asked for a poached egg. Out come the practical cookery. I had no idea how to do a poached egg.
Yeah.
So I carried on doing that in my dad's pub for about a year. Worked with the chef that he had, and sort of used to do Sunday lunch and all that. I thought, I wouldn't mind doing this, but actually my heart always wanted to be a fireman. So I went to join the army. Yeah, I went to join the army as a fireman. And they said, unfortunately, we don't have a fire brigade. If you want to be a fireman, you'd have to go in the RAF. And I thought, oh, no, I want to go in the army. So I ended up joining as a chef. I did about 9 months in the army. I can remember it still now. I can remember it. It was a January night, 2-3 in the morning. On the Brecon Beacons, I had snot icicles coming out my nose, flares going off around me. And I just thought, what am I doing here? I don't want to be here on this hill, freezing. So sort of went in, saw my sergeant major and said, look, this is not for me. My passion is to be a chef. But unfortunately, you have to be a soldier first. And I didn't want to be the soldier. I didn't want to be lying in the cold and the ice.
Yeah, the snot icicle's not your thing then.
No, it wasn't my thing. But I have to say, to the army, they were brilliant. Within 2-3 weeks, they had me out and got me an apprenticeship at the Hilton Group. So, yeah, started off in hotels. and worked my way up really quick. Really, I was the youngest sous chef within the Hilton group. Worked at Park Lane, went on to the Langham relaunch, and then did about a year with them, opening up Hilton nationals around the country. So went from Croydon down to Portsmouth, Swansea, and then we went right up to Edinburgh, opening up Hilton nationals, which was good.
Right. What do if you were the youngest sous chef in the group of that, because Hilton's obviously massive.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, what do you attribute that to in terms of how did you kind of make a conscious choice that you're just going to get your head down and crack on, or was it just one of
definitely.
those things that kind of just you just end up finding yourself in these positions?
No, definitely you have to work at it, And if there was a shift available, I'd always put my hand up to work. I mean, I was earning £60 a week at the time. I wasn't earning a lot of money,
Right.
but yeah, just had the right attitude. Wanted to learn, wanted to work. I was probably a little bit cheeky, a little cheeky Essex lad. And it just, I got in with the right people, and I was very lucky. I worked with some really good chefs, and just grew really quick. So I was very lucky, really.
Yeah.
And then just sort of come out of hotels. I did a bit of similar to what I'm doing now. Really, I worked at Lords and places like that. Was doing a bit of agency work, and then I was in a hospital, the Nuffield Hospital Group, and you had to go and meet the patients if you was on shift and a patient was coming out of recovery. You had to go and talk to the patients, which is something I'd never really done before. Just got to talk to a lady. She said, "Oh, my son's in film work, so would I be interested working for him?" I thought he was going to turn up in like a burger van.
Right.
But when I met him, he had like all these American trucks and American vehicles. So yeah, I worked in films for 6-7 years. Travelled a bit of the world, Tunisia with Star Wars, and did Blade 2 with Wesley Snipes, and was with Liam Neeson quite a lot. With Liam, a good few
Right.
years.
So what does that involve then? Because actually, you're probably the first person we've had on the show that's kind of dipped their toe into that line of work. As a chef, what are you doing there?
Yeah, so initially he was cooking for crew, and we used to call them Hoovers, which was the extras, because the extras, it doesn't matter what you put on the table, they'd hoover it up. So they were called Hoovers. Um,
My wife was used to be an extra.
oh, did she? She was a Hoover then, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. I'll tell her that. Yeah.
And then just got sort of cooking for individuals like Liam and that on Star Wars. I'd cook for him individually, and Sigourney Weaver. But just, it sounds glamorous. And, I was in Prague for 2.5 years working out there at Barrandov Studios. But just being away from home 8-9 months a year takes its toll.
Right. Yeah.
And then I sort of met my wife now, and she said, "Look, I've had enough of being away. It's time to sort of come home." I've done 6 years at it. So I was lucky. I come back, started working at West Ham Football Club.
Right.
And then the team chef kept not turning up at the training ground. So I got a call, "Mark, can you go down and meet the coach and cook for the players?" I mean, I had no idea that they had kitchens at the back of the coach and you had to cook on the coach. So Glenn Roder was a manager at the time, and sort of did the first shift. Then Glenn said, "Look, I want Mark to be the team chef all the time now." So I spent probably 18 months with West Ham, cooking for him at the training ground, travelling with the boys, cooking for him at the back of the coach post game when we was away, and then got talking to someone at Charlton and sort of got poached by Charlton Athletic. That was in the Premiership at the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no transfer fee for a chef.
Right. And no
So yeah,
sign-on bonus or
no. So I
something
didn't.
like that. Yeah.
Wasn't my first millionaire move, but did Charlton for about another year, and then just got sort of tired of it. I know it sounds crazy, but cooking pasta, chicken, healthy stuff all the time, it got a bit monotonous. And the opportunity come up for me to go to Emirates. A friend of mine was going in as the exec chef. Being an Arsenal fan, I was keen to go to Arsenal. So I went into Arsenal as the head chef. I did 5 years at Arsenal, had some really good time. I didn't really want to leave, to be honest with you. We'd got it off to a great place. It was definitely ahead of its time with food and what we was doing at Arsenal.
So is this still for the team?
No, this was for the stadium, sorry, at
This was
Arsenal.
for the
I'd
right.
moved,
Yep.
into the stadium catering. And so the Emirates had opened, it was brand new. And it was very different to what sort of we'd seen at other stadia. So it was a bit of a leading light. And then 5 years in, I got told I was going to Wembley. I didn't want to go, to be honest with you. It was a bit
Really?
further travel for me. No, I
Right.
didn't want to go.
It is a nightmare to get to.
Yeah.
Like even from central London, it's still, especially I can't even imagine what it's like on a game day. I've been once when there was a rugby league game on, but they only filled out half of the the lower tier basically,
Yeah.
and even that was a pain in the
Mm.
what's it.
Yeah,
But
so
anyway,
yeah, the journey and what have you, and I told the sides of it. You couldn't do too much. And to be fair, when I went there, it sort of probably took me 2 years to turn it with the food quality and what we was doing. Only
right?
because it's so sporadic, Wembley. It's not like a football stadium where you're working every other weekend. You can turn a football stadium pretty quick. So it took a couple of years to get it where we wanted with the food, but we had the Bobby Moore there. It was doing 1,600 a la carte. It was big, big, big numbers.
Wow.
First,
Yeah.
first real
Jeez.
experience for me doing big numbers. But I really enjoyed it, to be fair. And I probably wouldn't have looked to move, but Tottenham come along and started playing at Wembley and sort of dangled the carrot of a brand new stadium and what we was going to do over there. And it's exciting. I had a year to go into Tottenham and plan everything. I thought I was in a good place. And then the chairman decided he was giving us 10 days to open. I didn't have any chefs booked. I didn't have any food in the building.
My life.
So, yeah, going from Arsenal to Wembley, Tottenham definitely pulled on every resource that I had in the bag. But we did it. We got it there. We got it delivered. And, we still get good credit now for food. And, we're still pushing on. Even for next season now, we're looking now to push on again. And then I sort of spoke to my boss, what is now, and said, look, I've done football stadia for the last 10, 15 years. I'm getting a little bit bored, Steve, to be honest with you. I need to get my teeth into something else, or I'm going to start looking outside the organisation, which I didn't really want to do because I've
Yeah.
had a good time with Levy. And this role come up for regional exec London, looking after all Steve's units, and sort of the rest is history, really. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour what I've done. I've done a lot more along the line.
Yeah. No, indeed. Well, I'm sure we'll kind of delve into that in a bit more depth. But I suppose it also there highlights the power of having a good relationship with your boss, because if you can come to him with an honest appraisal of where you're at mentally, as much as skillfully with the role, that it's perhaps not going to get the best out of you for much longer.
And I think you're right there. Like mentally, I think I was definitely on burnout.
Right.
The 3-4 years. I mean, we had COVID for a little while, but to come out of COVID and get it going again, yeah, definitely. I felt I was on burnout with the stadium and didn't feel that I could give it the best shot again. Whereas now having the opportunity to step out from it a little bit and see other stuff, I definitely re-enlightened me fire to get Tottenham going again next year. But no, I
Yeah.
was definitely, as you say, I was definitely struggling with fatigue and a bit of burnout with the stadium.
Yeah. So as a regional now, you're overseeing all of these units. I mean,
Yeah.
and as an Arsenal fan, I mean, must be tough to go into Tottenham every day, but but actually, it's a really cracking stadium, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's one of the world's greatest stadiums now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I'm very proud of what we've achieved there. We've done a great job there, and it is one of the best stadiums in the world. It's a pleasure to work at. The chairman's so heavily involved. He walks around personally and says stuff needs touching up paint wise, and if you need some new equipment, and as long as you've got good justification why, he's happy to do it. It was like we've got our own bakery there, we've got our own pastry area, we've got our own brewery. It was a bit of a
Wow.
sort of story in the beginning. Oh, should we do a brewery? And then the chairman really got hold of it. I'm like, if we're going to do a brewery, let's do a brewery properly. So yeah, as long as it's a first in Stadia, Daniel, to be fair, he's quite open and looking at doing things.
Right, one-upmanship on the whole of the world, basically.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's
Well,
it.
I mean, we take a big lead from the US on stadiums, don't we? The US stadium scene is just ridiculous.
Yeah, stadium wise, they are ahead of us, but hospitality wise, they're very much behind us.
Really?
Yeah, they
Right.
come over here to see what we do, to be fair. Their hospitality is a hot dog and a burger. That's what they class as hospitality. It's very
Right.
different. I think it's starting to change a little bit, but they're definitely behind us on hospitality in stadium.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Mm,
always would have thought it would be the other way around, but I kind of hear what
mm,
you're saying. It's
yeah,
chicken wings and
yeah,
hot dogs. I
yeah,
mean, there's a time and a place, of course, but
absolutely, yeah.
yeah. So I kind of just want to cover the this 10 days to open
Mm,
scenario where you find yourself on the back foot. Like, I mean, there's back foot and there's there's
yeah.
a mile away from where you need to be. How the hell do you take on something like that? I mean, I know you kind of got to just say in your head, well, look, this is where we're at, so we've got to just crack on and make the best of what we can.
Yeah, and going into the stadium, I was always told I was a bit of a dinosaur. I always
Right.
have a kitchen administrator with me that books my chefs. I'm in control of my own chefs. And I still, to this day, I have a board on the wall with all the chefs' names in the areas. And as they come in, we cross them off and I can see where I'm at. So I went along with it and I let them book the chefs upstairs for me. And 4 days out from the game, I was 110 chefs short for the opening.
Right. Jesus.
So it was a bit of a light bulb moment. As I say, I pulled on every resource and every agency that I'd ever worked with before. And, we got it done and we got people in. But I just never realised when people were coming to the stadium, I'm saying to them, right, you have to go to Stratus West or East, which is on level 9. No one had a clue where they was going.
Mm,
That was the hardest thing, opening the stadium, that
right.
people had never been there before and didn't even know where they was going. So definitely lessons learned there if ever I do it again.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's any further stadiums in the pipeline in London at the moment, although I did hear that Chelsea might be looking to see what they might do there. But
Yeah, still
well,
undecided.
yeah, absolutely. Great stuff. So, Craft Guild of Chefs, you're
Mm-hmm.
also heavily involved in that. So, just tell us a little bit about it and also then your role within it.
Yeah, so the Craft Guild of Chefs is there for everyone, really, not just chefs. And Matt, the chairman, who sits above me, I think we've done a lot the past 3 years. We've definitely tried to change the look of the Craft Guild of Chefs. If you'd have asked someone 4 or 5 years ago about Craft Guilds of Chefs, they probably thought it was a lot of old men sitting around a room and talking a load of nonsense.
Right.
Whereas now on the committee, we've got 3 or 4 women involved on the committee. We've got a young chef ambassador. We've got a wellness ambassador. Everything that everyone talks about, really. It wasn't until we sort of looked at getting a wellness ambassador. I hadn't really looked at sort of mental health and all that, and I thought, wow, this is definitely something we need to look into a bit deeper. And I went and done my mental health training myself. I did a week's course to become a mental health ambassador. And it wasn't until I did the training that we're talking through anxiety one day, and I realised I had 5 stages out of the 7 of anxiety. Just stuff that you
Right.
do
Yeah.
without realising it. And I would have thought most chefs suffer with a bit of anxiety, to be fair. So yeah, we're a big support now with mental health. Big support role with bringing youngsters back into the industry. So yeah, I sit on there as vice chairman. I've got another year as vice chairman, and then I should be chairman. So it's a 10-year plan, really. What we do now, you sit on committee for 3 years, you run a group on committee, you then go into your vice chairman role for 3 years, then chairman for 3 years, and then you do a year handover as the chairman to the vice chairman. So it's a 10-year commitment as a minimum, really. So it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
But it's something I thoroughly enjoy. I'm very heavily involved with Future Chef, which is through Springboard. It's about bringing youngsters into the industry. And just being vice chair allows me to go out helping with Young National Chef of the Year and, really focused on bringing people into the industry and focused on youngsters coming into it, really.
I mean, what it's essential at the moment. Any positive work that can be done to entice people in. Ultimately, this podcast exists to shine a light on all of the good stuff because there is so much good stuff that goes on that perhaps doesn't get the press that it deserves. So yeah, and the Craft Guild, and to be fair, the Craft Guild of Chefs wasn't something that I was fully au fait with until maybe about 6 months ago.
Mm.
So it feels like you guys are really putting yourselves on the map
Yeah.
in terms of raising its profile and attracting attention.
Yeah, we've got the app now, which a lot of people are using. Before it'd be a case of someone having to contact you to renew your membership. Well, now you can do it all on the app. It's on your phone every day. If you need help, then the helpline's on the app. Everything's there. We're doing a lot of work with Burnt Chef Project, which is a great organisation.
Yeah.
And even, there's a few guys that I went to some talks on there. And, the guys that talk are hardened chefs. One of the guys talks about he'd sort of had enough of his career, had enough of life. Went home and started speaking to his dad. And his dad broke down crying. He said he'd never seen his dad cry. And that's what changed his life.
Right.
Yeah, there was another guy that was going to end his life. He's going to go and throw himself off of London Bridge and heard a karate class going on, went into the dojo, looked to see what was going on. And the instructor come over and started speaking to him and said, I'll teach you karate, but there's some other issues we need to deal with first. And
Right.
that was a changing point. So these are hardened chefs, that are running big kitchens, and you don't realise that these guys are suffering in silence out there.
Yeah.
So hopefully now, talking about it and talking a lot of mental health, you can help people. I mean, one of the things I do, I walk around. Sorry, Phil, everything
That's
I
right.
do, I walk around and say good morning to everyone, and that's my time to gauge everyone at work. And by me not saying good morning to, a young commie or someone, a casual that's come in, it might change their day that I haven't said good morning to them.
Yeah.
But also, the next morning I go around and say good morning again. I can see changing people. And, often or not, I've pulled people in. Is everything all right? Or you having issues at home? Or, sometimes I can't help, but just being a listening ear
Yeah,
can
so
help some
it's
people.
sometimes all you need, right? Well, not all you
Yeah.
need, but it's certainly the first step in terms of giving people the opportunity to have that difficult conversation that they're perhaps keeping within themselves.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
it's a pride thing ultimately, right? A lot of the time is that people don't want to be seeing like they are being a burden or
Mm.
imparting their issues into the world, but actually that's how you get past them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had some life coach training a few years ago, and I was typical chef. I don't need life coach training. What do I want that for? I mean, wasting my time. I was meant to have 4 sessions. I ended up having 18 sessions with this guy,
Really, right?
and give me a complete 360 on my career, the way I handle my work. Like I use the time driving home now from work to reflect on my day, and once I pull up on the drive field, that's me done for the day. I
Yeah,
don't bring work into home anymore. And I was probably typical chef. I'd see something going wrong at work, jump in, both feet first, screaming and hollering at that person, and then sort of now I have to have consideration of how that person would have felt. So I will still deal with the situation, but I might walk off and come back to it rather than
right.
dealing with it there and then when you're all hot headed. And so, yeah, for me, having a life coach definitely changed myself, my life, I would say, and my career. It was
Yeah,
definitely a line in the sand for my career and how to push forward as a
I think
person.
that having the moment to reflect is massively powerful,
Yeah.
and we perhaps don't place enough emphasis on this as a thing. As you say, your time to reflect is on the drive home, so that you're not taking it into your sanctuary, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I've found major power in the ability to just self-reflect, not even just about it being around your state of mind, just about how you deal with stuff and how you get through problems day to day. And did I do that the best that I could? No. Okay, what could I have done better,
Yeah.
etc., etc. It's I suppose how we evolve as humans.
Yeah. And, it's that how you make that other person feel, jumping both feet in first, probably shouting all in front of others. How do you make that person feel? Just pull them aside, have the conversation, and I think you'll get more out of them.
Yeah,
And also, I learned, like, I used to be a typical chef. If someone was a bit useless and there was no space for them in my kitchen, I don't want these people. What I have actually learned since then is, since I've been running big teams, there's a place for everyone.
yeah.
There is definitely a place for everyone.
A very quick word, if you'll permit me. Providing great customer service is all about having the right people in the right place at the right time. And that's exactly where our sponsor RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud makes managing your team's rotas, attendance and annual leave easy. With its simple drag and drop planner, you'll be creating rotas for your team in minutes, while its built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. One RotaCloud customer actually reported that they'd gone from spending 25% on their monthly turnover on wages to spending just 19%, all thanks to RotaCloud's intuitive rota planning software. So do your business a favour and head over to rotacloud.com/Phil to start your 30-day free trial and find out how much easier organising your team can be. Now let's get back to it.
Something I was always passionate about and I never ever got round to doing before. Now I've got a bit more time in the regional role. I've just employed a Down syndrome apprentice,
Right, okay.
Harry. Probably I felt the team was a little bit low coming out of COVID. We were going through the motions as a team. There was no real camaraderie there with the team at Tottenham. And I thought, what do I do? You can take them out for a night, you can go for different meals and all that. But I felt at the time we really need to change the integral structure of the team, and what will change that. And the opportunity come along for Harry to come into the team, and he's really changed the dynamics of the team. To be fair,
Right.
they've all took him on board. I think people outside of culinary think, oh, he's going to get the mick taken out of him, and he won't get treated right. But actually, the culinary team, as people who work in the chefing industry and in kitchens will know, we are a family. And, we spend more time with our family anyway, most of the time. And we
Yeah.
work closely together and we know about each other. And actually, they've all embraced Harry. They've took him under his wing. Sometimes he can be a nightmare. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but
But
everybody has their moments anyway, right?
yeah, but I think the biggest thing with the team have learned to give him time. He takes a lot longer to take things on board and to learn things, and that's fine. We've learned over the last 6 months that's what it takes. So he'll be going into his apprenticeship as of August. He'll be going to Westminster Kingsway with the other two apprentices, and it might that they should do their apprenticeship in 2 years. It might take Harry 4 years. If it takes Harry 4 years, it takes Harry 4 years. So be it. But
Yeah,
his drive is to be independent, is to get his own flat and live on his own and all that, and that's his drive,
yeah,
which is great, And he's definitely changed the dynamics of the team. We have to think about how we talk around Harry and what you say in front of Harry now, and I think it's been a good thing. And
yeah.
I'm really proud that we've got Harry on board and giving someone an opportunity.
I was going to say, I mean, it sounds like actually, yeah, there might be some sea changes that have to take place within the way that people speak and all of these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, that's positive anyway, right?
Yeah,
It's just if it gives people a moment to think about what they're doing or saying before they actually do or say it,
yeah,
then you become a more level-headed human being, don't you?
definitely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I say everyone's embraced him in the kitchen. Everyone
yeah,
loves him. So
excellent. Well, and describe. You've got all these things under your remit, like all these high-profile units across London. Just describe to me what a kind of typical day in the life of you looks like, if there is such a thing.
yeah, I wouldn't say there's a typical day. To be fair, I think one thing I need to focus on is, well, it's been hard for me, is that I can't. I'm not in charge all the time. It's a very different role for me now. I am a bit of a control freak. I do have a bit of OCD, and I like things to be done right. But I've had to change my view since becoming a regional role. Not everyone is up to my standard, and I have to understand that. I have some good boys in every unit, and I'm lucky enough to have good exec chefs in every unit. So one of the first things I've done when I took the role on, was spoke to my boss and said, "Look, there's no succession plan in here. We have to have succession planning in all these units. Guys will move on, they will move about, but I need to have number twos under them all." So I've spent a lot of time putting structure into the teams now. And now it's just getting out there, meeting them. We've got a lot of new, like O2's got 2 new restaurants we're opening. Chelsea, there's lots of changes happening at Chelsea. And the units that I thought were going to be a bit of a thorn in my side, like Watford and Brentford, actually, the boys that run them units, they flow, they're as
Right.
good as gold. The Oval, Josh and Bryn over at the Oval, they're two great chefs, I don't really need to go in and manage them boys at all. And for me, actually, I quite enjoy going over there. To be honest with you, the food they do is a really good quality. I'm actually learning stuff from them. I'm not afraid to say that I'm learning stuff from them, and I enjoy the fact that I'm learning stuff from them. Like last time I was over there, they were smoking some meat,
Right.
but rather than using wood chips and all that, they were dehydrating their old vegetables, drying them out, and then using that for the smoke.
Hey, hey,
Just
hey.
forward thinking with stuff like that. And yeah, Josh is really good at that. So yeah, I've got a very diverse team, very different teams. But yeah, like tonight is O2. Tomorrow I'll go into Tottenham, then I'll go over to Chelsea tomorrow night. I'm down at my CPU at Feltham on Thursday. So yeah, every week's different, which I quite like, to be fair.
Yeah.
I have a monthly call with them all. I don't get to every unit every week, obviously. But we have a monthly call in where we, a bit of caring and sharing with each other, any issues that we're having.
Yeah.
So no, it's great, and I'm very lucky that the units I've took have all got good guys in them. I'm lucky with that, really, which makes my job a lot easier.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't be successful on your own, right? You
Absolutely not.
especially especially with the amount of people and
Yeah,
outlets that you've got. How does it work at like at the O2 as an example? You just said that there's two more restaurants coming online there.
yeah,
If anybody who's been to the O2 will know that there's a multitude of different restaurant outlets there. From your
yeah.
perspective, what do you look after within that?
So yeah, anything within the O2 arena, really, nothing
Right.
outside. So all the stuff on the boulevard is not us.
Yeah.
So yeah, just the box, like the suites, the retail inside the O2, and the Amex Lounge kitchen there. And then we're just building a new kitchen upstairs, which will be a bit more fine dining within the arena, really. But yeah, no, look, it's a special place over there. I think it's got a lovely feel to it.
Yeah.
And it's probably gone a little bit stagnant over there, and it's time to push on. And we've got a few new clients over there, and they want to push on. So I've joined at a really good time, to be honest. The same with Chelsea, new owners, they want to push on and do different stuff. So yeah, I'm lucky. I've joined at a good time.
Yeah.
Some exciting projects going on.
Yeah. Without question. If you're running at full capacity, how many chefs do you have under your guard in
What
total?
across London?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 1,200, I think it is.
1,200.
Yeah,
Jeez
about
Louise.
22,000 hospitality covers.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of people to feed.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever imagine that you'd end up here doing
No,
this kind of thing?
not at all. And I'm very lucky. I still get to travel a bit now, but no, definitely not. I'm very lucky. I say I'm lucky. I've worked hard to get where I am.
Yeah.
I've worked hard over the years. But yeah, no, I'm still doing a bit of travelling now. The chairman of the Craft Guild, Matt, he works for a company called Alliance Lamb, which is New Zealand lamb. So we was out in Dubai in January launching a new Lumina lamb, which they do. And then we was lucky enough to go out to New Zealand, February, to go and see the product. And that's what I quite like with my role now, is that I can bring in quality products and go out and see the stories of this product. I mean, the New Zealand lamb was unbelievable, and it all started from the genetics of the rams. And when we went to see the rams in the beginning in the field, every ram was the same.
Right.
And when you follow the lamb through its process of being grown, what they feed it on, what they finish it on. When we went to the slaughterhouse, which is something I wasn't really looking forward to, but it's part of the whole circle.
Mm.
You saw why they do what they do. That each carcass that was coming through was the same size, the same fat content. It was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. You just
Effectively,
don't
just
realise this
controlled.
stuff.
Yeah,
Go on.
controlled through diet,
Yeah,
basically, and
yeah.
every one of them gets exactly the same thing through their lifespan.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. The product is unbelievable, and for me, it's it needs a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth because I like to use local products where I can. You'd rather use Welsh lamb,
Mm.
but actually, sustainability wise and getting it to us, it's there's less. It's more sustainable to use New Zealand lamb, which is a shame, really, but
Is it
that's how
really?
it is. Yeah,
Right.
I
Well, that
didn't
seems
believe it,
mad.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting part. But yeah, look, I work with a lot of local suppliers. We do a lot of work with Wicks Manor now. She's a pork farm up in Essex. But yeah, apart from one supplier, most of our suppliers at Tottenham are definitely within a 60 mile radius of
Right.
the stadium. So not too bad, really.
Yeah. And do you get
That's
that individuality with each contract in the sense of you're allowed to go and
mm,
because obviously you're part of Levy, which is a massive company. I assume that you get some purchasing power with that as well, but you are allowed the individuality from place
yeah.
to place.
Yeah, and they encourage that. To be honest, if you believe you're very good with that, they encourage you to do that. So yeah,
Yeah.
some guys up in the Midlands will use different butchers to what we use in London, and yeah, so no, they're very good with that. Up in Scotland, the guys are using Scottish products up in Scotland. So yeah, no, they encourage that. To be fair, and I think it's good that we do that.
Yeah, I think what I really love about your journey so far is that it feels like this is kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't really a grand plan with this. This was kind of like you enjoy cooking, you enjoy being a chef, and you've just opportunity has presented itself because, as you said, back in the days at Hilton when you were, the youngest sous chef there, is that
Yeah,
effectively you were controlling your career with your attitude that you just wanted to work. You wanted to learn and you keep cracking on. And then these things have probably just come to you and you've gone, well, that sounds interesting. I'm going to go off and do that for a bit. And then when
yeah.
that's not interesting anymore, you go, right, well, what's next? And all of a sudden you end up finding yourself where you are.
And to be honest with you, I've never been afraid of failing. I've always I'll have a go. If
Yeah.
I and I've always had enough confidence in myself to do that. I haven't worked in probably high end restaurants for 20 odd years, but when we was out in Dubai, we had to cook in a Michelin style restaurant. So I know on my day I'm as good as them boys alongside them, and we was out there, we'd done a brilliant job. So I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, have enough confidence in yourself to go and have a go. And if you fail, take a step back, reflect on it, and go again. I
Yeah.
don't think any decision you make in your career is a wrong one. At the end of the day, it's your career. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the amount of conversations I've had with people whereby, we can all impart our own life experience of what it is that we've learned through building a career to wherever we've ended up in this particular moment. But
Mm.
ultimately, every journey is completely individual, isn't it? That everyone has their own moments in time where there's a stress or a strain that affects a decision making process that they then go that way, maybe instead of that way. And there's so many intricate parts to building a career that there's really no right or wrong way to do it, right?
No, and stadium, to be fair, probably 15, 20 years ago, was frowned upon. They probably thought, oh, you buy everything in, and But now, at Tottenham, I employed hospitality chefs to do retail because that's the level it needs to be. And we've got an area called the H Club. The weekend we on one of Tom Kerridge's chefs in, Tom Boutan from the Dorchester Grill, Alan Williams, the Galvin brothers, Judy Jew, Pip, Bryn Williams. So the Michelin star guys come and work
Yeah.
in our world now. We had Claire Smith down at Cheltenham working for us. And actually, they come into our world and they struggle because they're not used to doing the numbers. So they lean
Of
on us
course.
for a bit of help and all that.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic to, for me, I still to this day, I get blown away a bit that I'm in a room and I'm talking to these guys like Raymond Blanc and, or I've got their phone numbers in my phone, Brian Turner. I can pick the phone up now and I could talk to these guys, but I was just a young boy from Essex and, I worked hard and got my career, but being with the guild and being involved with what I'm doing, it's allowed me access to these guys now. And even I have to pinch myself now, that I'm ringing these people up and talking to these people, but
Yeah.
on a playing field, then there's no reason why I shouldn't be talking to them. They're the
No.
same as us. They work hard the same as we do,
Yeah, and
but
care, and they care
yeah,
deeply, right? That's the thing. I think you mentioned in the in the form that you very kindly filled out for me before we spoke about this is that one of the things that kind of gets your goat a little bit is when people don't really care about their craft or don't care about the ingredients or they're just, and I think that's one of those things that it might take some people a little bit of time to get there, but it's worth going on that journey to get to the point where you give a monkeys, right, about what it is that you're doing.
yeah. I have simple rules. I have like I make sure everyone wears a hat in the kitchen. It's just the basic rules. You start the ground rules with these people, and they know they're not stepping into a normal unit. They're stepping into something that's a little bit different. Like, why does this guy care about us wearing a hat? That's the standard. That's what we work to. But yeah, and then coming back caring about the product. If you're prepping a cauliflower and a third of it's going in the bin, it just infuriates me. And as I spoke about going out to New Zealand, meeting the farmers that putting all this effort into the lamb, and I've been and met farmers for vegetables and stuff, and the effort these guys put in, they're
Mm,
putting long hours in to grow this stuff, and we have to treat it with as much respect, as they're treating it. They're putting a lot of love and what they do into their craft. Well, we have to respect the product the same. And yeah, it infuriates me when I see people not treating stuff with respect.
yeah, I can only imagine, and what, and you've got, especially as well now, as you say, the level of capability and hospitality that is available in stadia catering and venue catering like that is just gone. In the last 10 years, it's unrecognizable.
Yeah, and it's people. Yeah, I think it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bit one-sided. But I think like Footy Scran and people like that, they are promoting what we're doing in stadiums. Some people get a kick in, and deservedly so. Like as I say, they're not showing respect for the product. But yeah, there's a lot of them out. There's a lot of eyes on us now, and there's a lot of people following us. Padded Seat is another one that we get. We go on there quite a lot. I've been lucky. We've always had good reports come back from my stadiums really, but some of them really do get a bit of abuse
Really, right?
on there. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. From your career so far, you must have, given what you've had exposure to in your career and life, you must have some funny stories that you can share with us.
Oh yeah. I mean, where do I start? I mean, I got a call last year. Can I take a slice of ham and a slice of cheddar down to the players' changing room? It was outside of football.
Right?
Well, this is a bit of a strange request. So anyway, there was no one else in, so I took it down there myself. And Tottenham's got a sponsorship with Dulux, and the Dulux dog had hurt his paw, so I had to give it a paracetamol. Bless it. I don't know if it's a career high or low. To be fair, I still haven't fathomed that one out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I've done some mad things. Like I was in Slovakia and 10,000 feet up a mountain, digging tables in snow, and the food's being dropped up to me on a helicopter. And yeah. No, I've done some crazy things.
yeah. But that's the
We was
joy of it, right? Is that
yeah,
you must have moments whereby people say, right, client has requested this, and your first reaction is, what? No
yeah.
way. But then I suppose the hospitality kicks in, right? And you go, well, if that's what they've requested, that's
Yeah.
what we make happen.
Yeah, I mean, we had to, when I was in Prague, I had to fly in Evian water for Uma Thurman. We had to fly lobsters in from Canada for Sigourney Weaver. And yeah, no, I've done some mad stuff. I had to fly back to Prague from Slovakia for Sigourney. And there's me, the pilot, and these lobsters crawling around in a box. And I'm thinking, I'm going to die, like in this little plane. But yeah, they were some of the mad things you've done.
Yeah.
One of my all-time life films is Convoy. I love Convoy,
God, yeah.
and to
God,
be
that's
able,
going back some.
yeah, well, shows my age. But to meet Chris Christopherson, and we went to a golf club one day, and he sat there playing his guitar. You're just like, these
Yeah.
things. They're one-offs. We did a charity for Great Ormond Street and the Who with a band.
Right.
So like you're stood there watching the Who, and then Roger Daltrey come in the kitchen afterwards and all that. There's loads of stuff like that. Phil. We was in Tunisia, and when R2D2's got two legs, Kenny Baker was inside it, and when it's got three legs, it's remote control. And they're trying to film with it one day, and they say, "Oh, turn over," and R2D2 isn't doing anything. Anyway, they open the top, and Kenny had fell asleep inside R2D2, so he wasn't shaking R2D2. So yeah.
It must have been quite hot in there, and at
Cool,
times.
yeah. We used to start at 3 in the morning, and we'd finish by about 1 o'clock because
Right.
it was just too hot in the middle of the desert to film. So, but yeah, I used to cook for Liam out there personally. Used to go in the kitchen at night and cook for him, and Jake, who plays Anakin Skywalker, him and his family were there. So I used to have to cook for them every night as well. It was good. It's good times, but you can't sustain that lifestyle.
Yeah, and I suppose in the moment when that first happens, you as you say, you kind of pinch yourself that, my God, I'm being asked to do this by Liam Neeson,
Yeah.
and then 2 or 3 services in, it's just like, well, this is what I do now.
Yeah, you do get a bit blasé with it. I mean, I'm the most unemotional person about meeting celebs and superstars. It doesn't, it doesn't face me at
That's
all.
probably why you were destined to do this.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, being on the back of the coach with the players, at West Ham, you hear a lot of stories, and you're just in and around the boys really. But people were saying to me they'd give their right arm to have the job that I was doing, but to
Right.
me at the time it was just a job, and I always did the
Yeah.
best I could do.
Yeah. Absolutely. What advice would you give to somebody who's listening to this who is thinking, God, that sounds like an incredible career. How do I get started in that? Where should somebody get cracking if they've got a kind of even a sniff of an inkling that they might want to work in a kitchen?
Yeah, look, there's loads of work out there, Phil, for chefing. It just depends what you really want to do. I was lucky, and as I say, I don't think any mistake in your career is a mistake. I fell into these jobs most of the time, but I've been very lucky with them. One bit of advice I always give people if they're coming into the industry is just, remember who people are around you on the way up, because once you get into my position, as you say, it's not a one-man show. You need your team around you. So be respectful to those on the way up, whether it's like for me in the morning saying good morning to the kitchen porter or
Mm,
a young commie chef. I learned that a long time ago. Always be respectful for those on the way up, because once you get to the top, boy, do you need them people underneath you. I've
yeah.
got guys that work for me now, have worked for me for 20 years, and I'm proud to say that they still work for me.
Yeah.
So I must do something right. My number two, Jed's been with me 16 years now. A
Right.
lot of the full-time team have been with me 10, 12 years. So, yeah, no, I'm very lucky, really. I've got a really good team around me, a lot of loyal guys. But hopefully I've treated them right on the way up.
Well, I think you clearly have, because otherwise people wouldn't have stuck around. And you mentioned luck an awful lot throughout your career, but I
Mm.
don't think that luck comes along without you having some part to play in that. I think what's the old Gary Player saying? The harder I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
Uh, I think
I think
you're
with it, Phil. Every company I've worked for and everyone I've worked for, I've always treated it as my own, as if it was my company.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. You know, if I've had to put extra time in, I was never looking for overtime. I was never looking for days off on top. It was just part of the job, really. I would just do what I needed to do, and I'm still like that now. Really, it's not very often I have 2 days off in a row at the moment. We're coming to the end of the football seasons with the stadium, so yeah, working 6 days a week. But you have to do what you have to do at the moment, you know.
Yeah, I suppose you'll get that back at some point in down season.
Well, if you do, you do. If you don't, then for me, I don't really worry about it, to be honest. Yeah.
Very good. So, what final question? And I'll let you get off to Elton John, as it were. What 3 reasons would you give to somebody to explore a career in hospitality? Why should they come in?
Oh, there's so many reasons why. I'm trying to think one 3. I can tell you. For me, it's the camaraderie. You know, it's you'll never work in an industry. I don't think probably it's similar to the army, really, where that person alongside you on the pass has got your back. You know, and you have to work together. And yeah, definitely camaraderie. If you're willing to learn, then it's a fantastic career. There is so much to learn and always to learn. You know, I'm still learning now, as I said to you, with the smoking the veg over at the Oval. You know, I've never seen stuff like that. And if you want to travel, you can. You know, as long as you learn the basics of your trade, then this trade will take you all around the world, like it has with me. New Zealand, Australia, Tunisia. You know, I have been lucky. I've been around a lot of the world. There's a lot of chefs that don't, and unfortunately, they get stuck in a place and if they haven't got the confidence to travel. But as I say, for me, there's no mistake in your career. If you make your choices, you stick with your choice and go with the flow.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons, and definitely one to explore if you're keen on it. Just little things for me is timekeeping. If I'm employing someone, I expect people to be on time, and you have to have a willingness to learn. As long as you've got them 2 traits, you can work in the catering industry. Yeah. Timekeeping and have a willingness to learn, a little bit of respect. You'll fly in your career. It's as simple as that, really.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, that seems like a wonderful way to wrap it up. If people want to get a hold of you to learn more about what you're doing or anything that you've got your head in, what would be the best method for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, the usual social media channels, Instagram. I'm on there, London Regional Chef. Obviously, Craft Guild of Chefs. If you go on the app, the Craft Guild of Chefs, there's about 12 of us on there. You can reach out to there's 12 different, like Andy who runs the mental health. You can reach out to Andy or anyone within the guild committee really can reach out. And usual channels, Twitter.
Everywhere, basically.
Everywhere, yeah. Everywhere.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mark. It's been a joy to chat to you about your journey. You've got a hell of a lot to get your head into over the next while, I'm sure. And I wish you all the very best with everything that you've got going on.
Phil. Good to meet you. Cheers.
You too. Cheers.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
No worries. Bye-bye. And there we have it. What a career Mark has had so far, and the things he's been able to see and the stories he's got is just wonderful. More importantly, what he's doing to try and affect the industry is superb. A massive thank you to him for giving up his time. We'll be back as usual at 8 PM next Wednesday for another story from hospitality. So until then, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.